What would you do if you saw someone you completely underestimated living a life you never imagined? Today, a CEO spots a security guard driving a Lamborghini, and the reason behind it is something no one expected. Wait until you hear the shocking truth. By the way, we'd love to know, where are you watching this from? Comment your country below. And if you enjoy stories like this, make sure to subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon so you don't miss any of our amazing stories. It was a bright Monday morning in downtown New York City. The streets buzzed with honking taxis, cyclists weaving through traffic, and pedestrians hustling along the sidewalks, clutching coffee cups and smartphones. On the rooftop of one of the city's most luxurious office towers, CEO Michael Lawson, a man in his mid-40s, straightened his tailored suit and adjusted his cufflinks. Known for his sharp business acumen and strict attention to detail, Michael prided himself on noticing even the smallest things that others overlooked. As he stepped into the company's underground parking garage, a routine part of his morning ritual, he expected to see the familiar lineup of luxury cars gleaming under the fluorescent lights, his own black Porsche 911 in its usual spot, alongside the sedans of other executives. But today, something caught his eye that made him stop dead in his tracks. Across the garage, weaving gracefully between the concrete pillars, was a Lamborghini Aventador, a car that screamed wealth, power, and exclusivity. But it wasn't the car itself that shocked Michael. It was who was driving it. Jamal Thompson, the company's security guard, known for his quiet demeanor and humble lifestyle, was behind the wheel. The same man Michael had seen every day for the past 3 years, checking employee IDs and directing cars, was now sitting behind the wheel of a car worth more than most people's houses. Michael blinked. Then he rubbed his eyes, convinced he was seeing things. No, this was real. Jamal's hands were steady on the wheel, his posture relaxed yet confident, and the sunlight glinted off the Aventador's polished surface as he slowly rolled out of the garage. A wave of disbelief washed over Michael. How was this possible, he thought. Jamal? Driving a Lamborghini? There's no way. Instinctively, he started walking after him, his curiosity piqued. He tried to make sense of it logically. Maybe it was a rental. Or maybe Jamal borrowed it from a wealthy relative. But no. There was something in the way Jamal carried himself, calm, unbothered, yet commanding. Michael had never seen this side of him. Jamal drove through the streets with ease, weaving in and out of traffic as if the city were his personal playground. People turned to stare at the car, some pulling out their phones to capture the moment. Yet Jamal didn't seem to notice, or perhaps he didn't care. There was a quiet confidence in him that Michael had never expected. As Michael followed discreetly in his Porsche, a mix of emotions churned inside him: disbelief, curiosity, envy, and even a strange sense of guilt. For years, he had assumed Jamal's life was ordinary, simple, and unremarkable. He had never imagined that the man who always greeted him politely at the elevator or reminded late employees about parking rules could suddenly become the center of attention on the city streets. The city lights reflected off the Lamborghini's sleek curves as Jamal approached a local cafe. He parked the car carefully, stepped out, and, surprisingly, opened a small backpack. Not a designer bag, not a flashy briefcase, just a simple, worn-out backpack. He pulled out a stack of envelopes and folders, heading inside the cafe with a purpose that seemed oddly familiar to Michael: a man on a mission. Michael slowed his car, trying to process what he had just seen. Who is this man, really? He asked himself, feeling a strange mix of admiration and confusion. For years, Michael had assumed Jamal's life was ordinary, simple, and unremarkable. He had never imagined that the man he always greeted him politely at the elevator or reminded late employees about parking rules could suddenly become the center of attention on the city streets. Little did Michael know, what he was about to uncover would not only shock him, but it would challenge everything he thought he knew about ambition, talent, and the unexpected places success can come from. Michael watched through the cafe's glass windows as Jamal moved with purpose, placing envelopes into a small pile on a corner table. He noticed that Jamal greeted the barista warmly, exchanged a few quiet words with a couple of patrons, and then carefully checked each envelope before placing them into a larger folder. Michael's mind raced. He couldn't reconcile the image of the humble security guard with the luxurious Lamborghini parked just outside. This doesn't make sense, Michael thought. How can someone like him own a car like that? Michael's curiosity quickly turned into suspicion. He remembered all the times Jamal had been punctual, polite, and unassuming. But now, seeing him handling documents and walking out of the cafe with such confidence, Michael wondered if there was more to Jamal than met the eye. Was he hiding some secret business? Or was there something illegal? Unable to resist, Michael decided to follow Jamal. From a distance, he trailed the Lamborghini through the city streets, weaving carefully between traffic. Jamal didn't seem to notice, or perhaps he didn't care. There was a calm assurance in the way he drove, as if he had done this 100 times before. Michael's detective instincts kicked in. Over the next few days, Michael began observing Jamal's routine. Every morning, Jamal would park the Lamborghini and enter the office building, smiling and nodding to colleagues as usual. But then Michael noticed Jamal would slip out during lunch breaks, often heading to locations that seemed random at first: an old workshop, a local community center, or a quiet street corner where he would meet with different people. One day, Michael decided to follow Jamal more closely. He watched as Jamal entered a small community center. Inside, he found a group of children gathered around working on various DIY projects: tiny cars, models, and even small robotics kits. Jamal knelt down to help a boy fix a broken wheel on a toy car, patiently explaining the mechanics with a gentle smile. The children's faces lit up as they learned, and Jamal's eyes reflected a passion Michael had never seen before. Michael was stunned. So, he's not doing anything illegal. He's teaching kids. The disbelief on Michael's face was obvious, even as he leaned against a wall, trying to stay unnoticed. As the days passed, Michael pieced together more clues. Jamal visited local workshops where he would quietly inspect automotive designs, take notes, and sometimes hand over blueprints or sketches to people who clearly respected him. Michael began to realize that Jamal was involved in something extraordinary, but entirely under the radar. Michael's initial assumptions about wealth, status, and who deserves success were crumbling. Every interaction he observed challenged his perception. Jamal wasn't flashy or arrogant. He wasn't showing off the Lamborghini to impress anyone. The car seemed more like a symbol of something else: achievement, recognition, and the reward for years of hard work, intelligence, and quiet determination. One afternoon, Michael decided to confront Jamal. He approached him at a parking lot outside a small cafe. "Hey, Jamal, can I talk to you for a second?" he called, trying to sound casual. Jamal turned, smiled politely, and nodded. "Sure, Mr. Lawson, what's up?" Michael hesitated, searching for the right words. Do I ask about the car? Do I ask about his work? Do I admit I was spying? He finally said, I just wanted to understand, how is it that you're driving a Lamborghini? Where's it from?" Jamal chuckled softly, a sound full of humility and warmth. "It's nothing illegal, I promise. It's just something I've been working on for years. I guess you could say it's a reward for a project I've been passionate about."
Michael blinked, speechless. He realized that whatever Jamal was involved in, it was something he couldn't even begin to guess. And yet, he felt a growing sense of admiration. This wasn't just a man who followed instructions and watched doors. It was someone who quietly built a life of skill, intelligence, and impact without needing the world to notice. As Michael walked away, he couldn't help but smile. For the first time in years, he felt a mix of humility and inspiration. He had assumed he knew everything about the people around him, but Jamal had just taught him a lesson in perception, patience, and hidden talent. Michael made a silent promise to himself. He had to know more. He had to understand Jamal's journey, the sacrifices he had made, and the brilliance that allowed a security guard to one day drive a Lamborghini without ever boasting. Little did Michael know, the truth he was about to uncover would be more extraordinary than he could imagine, and it would challenge not only his assumptions, but the way he saw success, ambition, and the power of quiet determination.
Over the next few days, Michael couldn't stop thinking about Jamal. Every time he walked through the office or glanced out the window at the parking lot, the image of Jamal in that Lamborghini haunted him. Questions swirled in his mind. Who is this man really? How did he get here? And why has he kept it hidden for so long? Curiosity overcame caution. Michael decided to follow Jamal again, but this time he wanted to see the full story, not just fragments. He trailed him silently through the city, keeping a careful distance. Jamal's path took him to a small, modest neighborhood on the edge of the city, far from the skyscrapers and luxury boutiques. Michael watched as Jamal parked the Lamborghini near a small, modest workshop. Inside, the walls were lined with car parts, mechanical tools, and detailed sketches pinned to corkboards. Michael peered through the window, amazed to see Jamal working alongside a small team of engineers and designers, discussing ideas with excitement and focus. It was clear now this wasn't a hobby. This was a full-fledged project. Jamal was not only knowledgeable about cars, he was innovative, creative, and deeply passionate. Every movement he made reflected confidence and expertise. He handled the technical discussions with authority, yet remained humble, listening attentively to his team. Michael's mind raced. For years he had assumed Jamal's life was simple, perhaps even limited. And yet here he was, leading a team, designing something extraordinary, and apparently making it work in the real world. The Lamborghini suddenly made sense. It wasn't a show of wealth. It was a recognition, a reward for talent and dedication that Michael had overlooked entirely. As Jamal stepped outside the workshop briefly, Michael noticed him interacting with locals. Children approached him eagerly, asking questions about the cars, and Jamal smiled, patiently explaining concepts, drawing diagrams in the dirt, and encouraging them to dream big. Even the adults in the neighborhood looked at him with admiration and respect. It was clear that Jamal wasn't doing this for fame or money. He was doing it to inspire, to teach, and to make a difference. That evening, Michael returned to his office feeling a mix of awe and humility. He couldn't shake the image of Jamal's quiet brilliance, nor the realization that he'd judged the man entirely wrong. The lessons were clear. Appearances can be deceiving, and sometimes the most extraordinary talent is hidden in the most unexpected places. Michael's obsession grew. He started researching small local startups, automotive competitions, and community programs, anything that could explain Jamal's mysterious success. Slowly, pieces began to fall into place. Jamal had been quietly entering design contests, winning small awards, and even collaborating with innovative tech companies. He had a network of supporters who believed in his vision, yet he never flaunted his achievements, choosing instead to remain humble and focused on his work. One morning, Michael spotted Jamal heading to a small charity event. He parked discreetly nearby, watching as Jamal handed over car models, tools, and educational kits to children who were wide-eyed with excitement. Parents thanked him repeatedly, and the local media took photos, though Jamal remained in the background, letting the focus be on the children. Michael felt a mix of emotions: pride for witnessing Jamal's impact, guilt for underestimating him, and curiosity that burned hotter than ever. He realized this was more than a story about a Lamborghini or hidden wealth. It was a story about perseverance, hidden genius, and the quiet determination that could change lives. As he drove back to the office that evening, Michael made a decision. He would not confront Jamal again. Not yet. Instead, he would observe, learn, and prepare for the moment when the truth could no longer be hidden. What Jamal had achieved was extraordinary, and Michael knew that the world deserved to see it too, but he also understood that revealing it too soon might ruin the magic of the man's humility. The mystery deepened, but so did Michael's respect and admiration. He had started with suspicion, moved through curiosity, and now felt a genuine desire to understand, to witness the journey of someone who had quietly mastered success on their own terms. Little did he know, the revelation of Jamal's full story would not just shock him, it would leave the entire city in awe, challenging every assumption about status, talent, and what it truly means to succeed. The morning news buzzed through the city, but Michael was glued to his TV at home, coffee in hand. He had no idea that today would be the day everything he thought he knew about Jamal would change forever. A breaking news segment appeared on the screen. From security guard to entrepreneur, the man behind the Lamborghini shocking the city. Michael's eyes widened. The camera panned over a crowd gathered outside a media studio, where Jamal stood smiling humbly beside his Lamborghini. Reporters surrounded him, snapping photos, recording interviews, and praising his achievements. The headline flashed repeatedly across the screen. Jamal Thompson, formerly a security guard at a major corporate office, has quietly built a groundbreaking automotive startup. His innovative car designs have won international competitions, attracting attention from major investors. Today, he is recognized not only for his genius, but for his humility, mentorship, and impact on his community. Michael could hardly believe it. The man he had assumed was ordinary had been living a life of extraordinary achievement, without ever boasting, without ever seeking attention, simply following his passion and helping others along the way. The segment continued, showing footage of Jamal driving the Lamborghini, mentoring children, and presenting his innovations to executives at prestigious events. Interviews with his colleagues highlighted his brilliance, leadership, and the respect he commanded quietly behind the scenes. Michael felt a wave emotions crash over him: awe, pride, guilt, and admiration. For years, he had underestimated Jamal based on appearance, class, and circumstance. And yet here he was, standing in the spotlight, not for arrogance or greed, but for talent, dedication, and heart. Without hesitation, he knew he had to meet him, not as a CEO to a security guard, but as one professional recognizing the brilliance in another. He called his assistant, requesting Jamal's contact information under the guise of a formal meeting, but in reality, he wanted to personally witness the man behind the headlines. Meanwhile, social media exploded. Clips of Jamal driving the Lamborghini, mentoring children, and speaking at industry events went viral. The story resonated across the city and beyond, inspiring millions. Comments poured in. "This is the definition of humility and talent. Never judge someone by their job title. Incredible story, so motivational." As Michael watched Jamal's interviews, he realized that the Lamborghini was never the goal. It was a symbol, a recognition of years of hard work, intelligence, and quiet brilliance. Jamal had earned every bit of it, yet he remained grounded, humble, and focused on inspiring others. For Michael, it was a life-changing moment. He had set out with suspicion and curiosity, but he ended with respect, admiration, and inspiration.
Jamal's story was no longer a mystery, it was a lesson, a reminder that true talent and ambition often live where we least expect them. And as the camera zoomed in on Jamal's calm, confident smile, Michael whispered to himself, "This is the man I should have noticed years ago, the man who can teach the world more than I ever could."
After the news broke, Michael knew there was only one thing left to do. He had to meet Jamal in person. Gone were the assumptions, judgments, and disbelief. All that remained was respect and admiration for a man who had quietly built a life of brilliance, humility, and impact. The meeting was set at Jamal's small workshop. Michael arrived early, nervous in a way he had not felt in years. He had spent days watching Jamal from afar, trying to understand him, but now the moment of truth had arrived. When Jamal saw Michael walk in, he greeted him with a warm smile, the same calm demeanor that had captured the hearts of so many. "Mr. Lawson," he said politely, "welcome. It's good to finally meet you properly." Michael shook his head, a mix of awe and humility on his face. "Jamal, I have to apologize. I judged you unfairly. I assumed your life was ordinary, but I was completely wrong. What you've done is incredible." Jamal chuckled softly. "Thank you, sir, but honestly, I never let anyone else's opinion define my journey. I just focused on learning, creating, and helping others along the way." The two walked through the workshop as Jamal explained his projects, from innovative car designs to mentoring local youth. Michael listened intently, realizing that the true value of Jamal's story wasn't the Lamborghini or the awards. It was the lessons in perseverance, humility, and following your passion, no matter the circumstances. By the end of the meeting, Michael was inspired. He offered to invest in Jamal's startup, support his educational initiatives, and collaborate on projects that could impact even more lives. Jamal graciously accepted, but reminded Michael that the real reward was seeing his work make a difference for others. Word of their collaboration spread quickly. The city was captivated by Jamal's story, the humble security guard turned visionary entrepreneur, whose kindness, brilliance, and determination inspired a generation. Michael often reflected on how a single moment, the sight of Jamal in that Lamborghini, had challenged his assumptions and opened his eyes to a bigger truth. Talent, ambition, and greatness can reside anywhere, often where you least expect it. The moral of the story was simple, yet profound. Never judge a book by its cover. Success isn't always loud or flashy. Sometimes it's quiet, persistent, and transformative, touching not only your life, but the lives of everyone around you. And for those watching this story today, here's the takeaway. Your circumstances don't define your potential. Your passion, dedication, and willingness to work quietly behind the scenes can create extraordinary results, just like Jamal. So, wherever you were watching from, remember this. Greatness can come from anyone, anywhere, at any time. Don't underestimate yourself or anyone else. If this story inspired you, don't forget to like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to our channel for more incredible stories that prove the impossible is always possible. And comment below, what would you do if you saw someone like Jamal in your life?